It's time, everybody, to sit back, relax, and enjoy the stream. I am doing something brand new today, and I am going to have different guests every time that I do it. The problem is, I don't know how often this will be. It'll just be one of those things where I will contact the person and be like, hey, do you want to come on and just have a conversation? Anyway, so the way it'll work is I have a guest that'll be on here in just a moment, and we're going to talk about the recent Nintendo Direct. And we're going to have some trailers that'll play in the background while we talk and everything. But the idea will be that whoever comes on is going to get to do whatever talking points they want. And I went ahead and asked this person, because he and I both love Nintendo. I said, hey, would you like to do this? Because I've thought about doing more just chatting stuff for Twitch for quite a while. And I used to actually do a podcast with my guest. And I was just like, I like the idea of doing one live. As much as I loved the podcast I used to do back in the day, I like that live interaction. I think that's more fun for me. But rather than talking more about it, I think I'm just going to bring our guest on. Brandon, are you there?
I'm still here.
All right. Hello, how are you?
Oh, good. Good. This is going to be a little weird because since I'm watching your stream for the eye contact, you're delayed. Right. All of it's just really thrown off to me.
I gotta make sure that OBS looks good here. Where is this? Oh, hi, Mom.
I think you can pop this screen out if you want.
That is the plan. Is to, There we go. That's better. Now you are about the same screen size as me, and people can see you, and we can have our conversation. Anyway, I also need to make sure that chat is over here. So, initial thoughts on the Direct before we get into detail. What did you think?
So, I'm the target demographic for this Direct. I'm a big JRPG, farm sim, all this stuff. I still thought it was kind of it was a good Direct. Do I think there were problems with the pacing? Yes. But I still think everything they showed was a genuinely good Direct. I think the people who dislike it, I think it's, I get it. This Direct isn't for you, but I think overall it's a genuinely good Direct.
I agree. I thought that the Direct worked really well for me. They introduced some new games that we'll be talking about in a lot of detail that I know a lot of people were really excited for. I know that you in particular really enjoyed a lot of the games that were announced, and that's why I wanted to ask you to come on, because I know how much some of these games mean to you. So I just decided, you would be a great first guest because we both love Nintendo, but you can talk more about some of the games that I'm not familiar with, but we can still share our passion for games. And I thought that would be really fun. So I'm going to go ahead and put this slideshow in full screen, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Where is the view button? There we go. I've got everything in full screen. Oh, it went all the way to the end. That's fun. Why did it do that? Go back.
Spoiler. Wow.
We are discussing the Nintendo Direct today, everybody. From September 13th, 2022. And we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about Pikmin 4, which I think was the game that everybody was the most excited for coming out of it. In my personal opinion. I've never even played much of Pikmin, and for me, I was just like, oh wow, this has finally been announced. I'll never forget the subreddit joke, and I mentioned this when I was doing my reaction to the Direct. It was, no one out Pikmin's the Hut, because the subreddit had just started collectively losing their minds due to the lack of information on the Pikmin series.
So, to butt in, I have followed the subreddit since I got on Reddit because I was really into Pikmin, of course. Mm-hmm. And what basically happened is there's a canonical lore where the Pikmin are currently fighting Pizza Hut. And so, like, they're canonically... Now, granted, I don't know what's going to happen with the lore now that they've got a game. Like, that's the negative side of all of this, is this takes away from the chaos that was the subreddit. But
I'm sure there will be people who will stick around and just add to that chaos. It's been too long. They all have all their karma points and everything. They're not going away.
I think, though, this will, like, kind of do a thing where, like, Pikmin 4 is the main talking point for a while, and then probably, like, a year after its release, we'll go back to
all those people will navigate to the Metroid Prime subreddit, and they'll discuss that one.
The Prime subreddit right now is mad because they've changed the Legend of Zelda title to Tears of the Metroid Fans.
Speaking of Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, do you want to? Are we jumping around really quick, or you want to?
No, we can jump around. Like I said, it's called conversations. We're just here talking. We're just gonna have fun. That is the entire point of the live show. Anything can happen. Anybody can talk about whatever they want. So this is basically your floor.
Oh, okay. So Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo did officially confirm it is like a crying tear. It's not like a tear.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, at least I was like, okay, we got some info. I wish the trailer showed more, but I
agree.
I imagine a January Direct or December will show.
I guarantee we will start to get a lot more. But I'm going to ask, were you among the people disappointed that we didn't see a Switch bundle for Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, or did that not affect you as much as what some people on the internet have said?
Here's what I'm going to say. I follow a lot of leaks. I was talking to somebody before I came on here. The unfortunate thing is I follow so much stuff that I actually probably could tell you what another Direct will eventually feature.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, Pikmin 4 was not something I expected, but like everything else that was announced other than the Zelda title, we had heard, and Story of Seasons that we're going to talk about, we had some kind of idea through leaks or just whatever.
I don't think anybody could have called Pikmin. I think that's what threw everybody off.
Well, I think this is the thing, is it was 12 years ago, maybe less, that Miyamoto was like, Pikmin 4 is almost done, because it was supposed to be a Wii U game.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be like Pikmin 3 and 4 were going to be the big pushes on the Wii U, and then they didn't, because the Wii U, the Wii U happened, unfortunately, rest in peace, and they decided to move it to the Switch. Well, I think the issue was whatever they had planned was really gamepad focused,
right?
And because of that, you got to completely rework the whole game.
I was going to say, do you think they basically restarted from the ground up, similar to what they announced with Metroid Prime? Because I feel like that's probably what happened.
So I don't think the ground up. I definitely think whatever base idea Miyamoto wanted is probably still there, because Miyamoto isn't somebody who I think really turns away from what he wants. I think when he has something set, it's happening. I think just trying to learn how to work that for the Switch is what they had to do. I think realistically, here's the thing. I think there's a lot of Nintendo games that are done. I think Pikmin 4 is done. I think Zelda's done. I think Metroid Prime 4 is potentially done. I think Nintendo is just choosing that to sit on them. And so I think Pikmin 4 has been done for a little while.
Okay.
I think they wanted Pikmin 3 to get back out there. It's now the highest selling Pikmin game of all time. You got it back in the minds of people, and so now Pikmin 4 is ready to come around. But today wasn't the day to show it, to just be like, hey, this is one of the games to be excited about. And I expect it to come out probably, I don't know, early 2023, but I mean, no later than August. So.
Now, with that being said, do you think that a lot of these games, they've been holding off because they're wanting to launch a new console with a lot of games that people have been anticipating? Because I could see Zelda being a launch title for a new console as well, similar to the Wii U and the Switch.
So, this is the problem. I have a lot of skewed judgment, like I said, from following a lot of stuff. I think a Switch Pro exists. I think Nintendo's choice on when to release it, because here's the thing. The Switch is like... I think the Switch has surpassed 100 million sales.
Yes.
And at the rate it's going, it's going to surpass, it potentially will surpass the PS2 to be the highest selling game console of all time. You would not, on any good conscience, if you were Nintendo, cut away from that to have that under your belt to be like, we have the highest selling game console of all time. And so I think a Switch Pro that will fall under the umbrella of the Switch Lite, Switch, and that, because, and the Switch OLED. So I think a Pro might be coming out in the summer, if not a little bit sooner. But I definitely think a Tears of the Kingdom bundle will exist, whether it be for an OLED Switch or for a Switch Pro, which I
Right.
really think a Switch Pro is possible. But I think Tears of the Kingdom will have to be on both. There's no way you can cannibalize almost 111 million
Right.
units.
Whatever the number is now, it's very impressive. The Switch has done phenomenally well for Nintendo, especially when you look at where they came from the Wii U. It was a drastic turnaround.
No price cuts.
Yeah. You take a home console and mix that with a portable console, which is more or less what the gamepad was trying to do. It was the groundwork for the Switch. And you just tweak that idea and you really go in depth with it, and this is what you get as a result. And the love that I see people giving Nintendo has been phenomenal in the last 5 years or so. Because I did consider the end of the Wii and the Wii U days to be like the dark era for Nintendo. Like, everybody was like, okay, what do you have for us? What's new? And they gave us a few really good games on the Wii U, but the Wii U did not last very long as a system compared to
4
other
years.
consoles. I think about 4 years, and usually you want to get 6 to 7 years out of your console's lifespan, and Switch is about there.
But year 6 will be next year.
I could see Switch going for probably another 3 or 4 if they really wanted to.
I think if a Pro comes out, I think you see Switch run for almost 10 years.
Right.
I think 10 years, and then you finally see a successor. But I do think that the earliest we see a Switch 2 is like 2026, maybe.
Yeah,
I just think
it's
just a dumb move not to do a Pro and then hold off until after you surpass. If even you do a Switch 2, I mean, you could just keep doing Pro models and just...
Now, apart from Pikmin and Legend of Zelda, what other games here really got your attention on the list? Because there's a few that stood out for me, but I know that we have some different taste. I know, for me, I'm really interested in Bayonetta 3.
I am too.
And then I did not recognize it at first, and you actually pointed it out while I was watching the Direct on stream, is Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life, which is a remake of the Harvest Moon GameCube game, which I'm super excited about, because I've been wondering where the GameCube remakes are, because it's been longer now since the GameCube came out than the Wii's Virtual Console started porting, like, SNES, NES, not Dreamcast, but Genesis and games like that to the Wii. So it's like, come on, Nintendo, you know there's an audience for GameCube games. Like, we're all in our mid to late 20s now, the people who grew up with that. So, like, we will buy it again. I would love to see F-Zero GX make it to the Switch. I would lose my mind if I got F-Zero again. But that's not what we're talking about. I'm interested in Sifu.
So I just to clarify, I hadn't put a few things on this list. Mm-hmm. I only wanted Sifu on here. I look at it the same way, like It Takes Two. Sifu is a game that came out earlier this year for every other console. Well, for PlayStation, it's exclusive to PlayStation.
Right.
It's a big deal that it came here before Xbox, and I don't think it's coming to Xbox. A lot of people said it's like it should be a Game of the Year contender. It's a game that has a very unique battle style, and everything about it is just
that's what caught my attention.
And so I'm waiting. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna play it on Switch because right now you can get it for like $17 for PS5, and
that's
so I intend to eventually pick it up. But that was one of those that, like, I thought it was a really cool thing, that something I thought probably would never come to Switch.
Pokemon Coliseum. Let me tell you something. If I got Pokemon Coliseum on the Switch, I would be a very happy man. I played that game so much as a child.
Not Coliseum, but talking about GameCube games, like I said, you hear a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if you see, like, Metroid and F-Zero and maybe a couple other really popular Pokemon, or not Pokemon, GameCube games be remade. Because here's the thing, is like, you're at a point where you can either do a virtual console, or, like you said, we talked about this back when COVID started, we're at the point where we're adults, and we can spend money. I spent over
when we went to
games.
that local game store, you and I both spent about $250 on GameCube games, and they've only gone up in value since then.
Yeah, which Gale of Darkness is better than Coliseum.
I agree with that. But
Gale of Darkness is the better one.
I mean, if I look at my shelf behind me right now, I've got my favorite GameCube games up there, and some of them are not even complete cases, and those games are selling for about $50 to $100 depending on which one. I got F-Zero GX not too long ago, and I got it for what I considered a steal of $35, and now it sells for a little bit more than that. So
it's like 70 to 90 right now.
Right. So it's one of those things where it's like Nintendo has a gold mine of games that they're sitting on, and like you said earlier with I think these games are done, there was rumors of a Metroid Prime trilogy remaster, and I think that what they're waiting for is they want to do Metroid Prime 1, which I believe is finished, with the release of Metroid Prime 4.
So here's what I'll say. Granted, like I said, I think Metroid Prime 1 by itself remaster is done. I think it's made. I think it comes out in the next year or sometime middle of the year, because Prime 4 I think is a 2024 game. I really believe it. But I think somewhere in there you see a Metroid Prime 2 and 3, but I don't think it's as remastered as Metroid Prime 1.
I agree.
And that's granted. I have a lot of skewed views because there's a lot of people. Jeff Grubb, if you ever want to follow him, has barely missed on his leaks. When he puts something out, he knows it's real.
Right.
So he backs his whole reputation on it. I've listened to him talk a long time about what Nintendo has done, and that's one of them that he's like, I've seen footage. You gotta trust me. But Prime 1 plays a lot like whatever Prime 4 will play like.
Right.
2 and 3 will play closer to their original way.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm just kind of looping the Pikmin video for you all guys. That way you have something more to look at than just the list of games that we had. So, was there
Pikmin
any...
4 looks beautiful.
It does.
Just while it's on screen, I'm still shocked. Looking at it now, I'm like, man...
It looks fantastic.
I'm so excited for...
I'm excited because I never got the chance to play Pikmin growing up. I just never had it for GameCube. And what I've seen of those games, I think it would be something I would enjoy since I've been trying to broaden my horizons in gaming a lot more recently. I'm just really willing to play stuff I've never tried, and that's something I think I would really enjoy. I don't know if I would ever play the earlier games or just wait for Pikmin 4, because I don't know if they're connected story-wise.
They are. There is a continuing story, but it's you could jump in at 8 point and just understand that they're less extreme as they go on like surviving. Like Pikmin 1 was a story of our planet's dying.
You had like 30 days to...
Yeah, well, you have 30 days in all of them. You have 30 days to get enough food supply or you head back. 1 was really extreme. 2, I think, was more about money, and then 3 was about finding Olimar. Which 3 is available on Switch, by the way, and I strongly recommend it. There's a demo available. You can download it and play literally most of the game.
I will look into that after the stream ends.
I think 3 is the easiest one to jump in on. 1 and 2 are more connected. 3, I mean, as long as you were like, I played Smash Brothers, I know who Olimar is. It's a bunch of new characters going to search for him. That's really all you need to know. And a lot of people actually theorize. So each Pikmin game, each numbered Pikmin game, has the same amount of playable characters as the number. It's like Pikmin 1 was just Olimar, Pikmin 2 was Louie and Olimar, and then Pikmin 3, I can't remember all their names, but there were 3 playable characters. So a lot of people think the 4th game will feature the 3 main leads from Pikmin 3 and Olimar. Because Olimar wasn't playable except for in the DLC in Pikmin 3.
So we actually got a question that someone used channel points for, so we're going to go ahead and address that since we're answering questions as we go. Kartarva asked, what was your favorite announcement in the Direct? That's tough for me because while I already knew Breath of the Wild 2 was coming out, the idea of an actual release date and a title was nice for me because Zelda's my favorite franchise of all time, but we didn't really get a whole lot, and we already knew it was coming. The nostalgic gamer in me is going to say the N64 titles that were revealed. When GoldenEye when they showed James Bond walk into frame, I literally jumped out of my chair while I was streaming because I never thought we would get James Bond 007 GoldenEye on Nintendo Switch Online. So that to me gives me the idea that literally any game in the N64 library could theoretically show up. And they did include the idea of online play. So for me as a streamer, I'm like, that's a fun game for me to be able to play with all of you whenever, and I obviously love first-person shooters. I just don't play that many of them. The first 3 Mario Parties was a big one for me because Mario Party 3 holds a very special place in my heart. But of the new games,
I'm not going to ignore your grammar, Cart.
Yeah, Cart. Get it together.
So, I think for me, while you're thinking about it, here's the thing. This is like the really hot take. It's either Pikmin 4 or Zelda. It is the hard thing of like, yeah, I knew about Zelda. Like, everybody's known about Zelda. But like, to get a release date, to get called Tears of the Kingdom, yeah. But for me, I hate to say it, I think Pikmin 4, though, because I had no idea. I really thought it was kind of dead. But to see it, to be like, this is a real thing that's happening, Pikmin 3 really did save and revive the franchise, or whatever you want to say. That, for me, was my favorite announcement.
Sure.
Story of Seasons, though, is like really close up there because I love the Harvest Moon games.
Right.
The GameCube Harvest Moon games have I have the most time in, and to hear that they're combining both of them and adding more features is just, if you hear dogs barking, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And so
mine have been barking. I don't know if it's been picking up, but yeah,
maybe sitting a puppy, and so she's just going
I adore the just response that Nintendo has gotten from Pikmin 4. I've never played much of Pikmin, and that might be my favorite announcement just because of what it meant for so many people. The passion for that series is just insane. So to me, that's a huge deal.
Subreddit will live forever.
The subreddit, I mentioned that. I was like, oh no, they're not going away. That subreddit will not die.
Yeah,
there's too many karmic points.
Burnham and I have talked about this, but I think realistically, like I said earlier, it'll peak up, more people will join, and then unfortunately they're going to realize how batshit crazy it is, and then they're either going to vanish or join in.
Right.
I think you'll have 2024 is the revival of the subreddit.
It will not just go away. They will move on from Pizza Hut to probably Domino's. They will just find a different pizza chain to make memes with. But I don't know. Bayonetta 3 was a big one for me as well. I really enjoyed that one just because I played the first game. I never played 2. But I really have enjoyed the Bayonetta games. Besides Mother 3, what could be the biggest surprise Nintendo could pull off in a Direct?
Oh, man. I mean, realistically, it would be literally reviving any of the dead franchises that people keep asking for, which I don't know if that means they'd be bigger than Mother 3. Well, I guess the question is, could be big surprise. I do think at this point, fans want F-Zero. I think that would be a big get. I think having, man, I don't want to say just bringing back any GameCube games that are the big sellers. A Melee port would blow up.
I think something like that will probably eventually happen. I think what they're going to do is they're going to test the waters with Smash 64 eventually coming to the online service to see how many people get excited for that. And then they'll be like, oh, we have something here. So then they will just outright put Melee on as a full-on console, I think. It won't be an online game. They will legit resell that game, I think.
Actually, you know what? I've decided. I'm changing my answer. So, this is for Turnip. I think the biggest surprise Nintendo could pull is an HD remaster of Paper Mario 1000 Year Door. There's nothing in this life that could hit as big as that. I think that's your next below, because the Paper Mario fan base is also kind of insane, and so I think
they've also been dragged through the mud, from what I understand.
And every once in a while, they get just teased enough. Like Origami. Here's the thing. I know you're playing it for the first time. Here's the really, genuinely Origami King and Color Splash. were better, and they were better games. They were things that they're just not a Paper Mario game. And
Right.
so I think we're continually though moving closer to that. I think Nintendo at some point will just be like, it's not that hard to remaster these. They're already pretty good looking games. So you just
Yeah.
clean up some of it, and I don't care. You literally just put it on there. It can look the same as the GameCube. Just put it on there, and it would be fine.
I think
So,
in general a new Mario RPG would be pretty big. Like, I think that would excite people pretty much no matter what you do. Like, I'm actually kind of shocked Nintendo has never considered an RPG with just all of their all-stars together working as a team. Like, you would play as Mario, Link, Kirby, Donkey Kong.
so, did you ever play Super Mario RPG Legend of Seven Stars?
I never beat it, but I have played it.
So Paper Mario is the sequel to that game,
Right.
but they changed the name, of course, everything. It just didn't made a whole new franchise. To my understanding, it just didn't sell well enough to continue that RPG style, and so I don't think Nintendo will ever have a full. I'm going to come back to that question, Turnip, but I don't think a full RPG could ever really sell that way. Maybe now, but I don't know if Nintendo would be willing to do that. So. A remaster or New Eternal Darkness frustrates me because a couple years ago, the guys who made Eternal Darkness actually did a Kickstarter to make a new one, and it didn't get off the ground. I think they did 2 Kickstarters, and it never got off the ground, unfortunately. So, because Nintendo owns the Eternal Darkness IP name, but they were going to just basically make a spiritual successor and ditch the name, but the same ideas of the original game, which sucks because Eternal Darkness being like one of the definitive horror games for Nintendo, one of the few M-rated games they published, is just something special, and it's unfortunate that I think that'll just unfortunately stay on GameCube.
Yeah.
Maybe, who knows? But
another one that I think could actually happen is Banjo 3, a actual Banjo 3. If that happened, I think people would lose their collective minds. We saw how insane people went just having Banjo and Kazooie revealed for Smash Brothers. There is an audience there. Now that obviously comes down to Xbox because of the fact that they own Rare, but I could definitely see something like that. Yes, but I think Nintendo fans in general would respond very positively to that because of that character being their thing.
So, Turnip, I know you're saying this because the trailer's playing, but I'm going to be honest, there's enough Fire Emblems that never got ported here that a lot of fans want. I think those would be considered big surprises, because Nintendo has been very
think
weird
that would probably be a big deal for people.
Because there's a lot of them that Nintendo basically has been like, do you want to play these that feature, like, Marth or Roy and have any idea where they came from? And they're like, absolutely not. Nintendo is like, they put out... One of them they put out for like 2 months, and then it was available from December to March.
Yeah.
And if you downloaded it, that was it. You got it. But now it's not on the eShop anymore. I made sure to buy it, of course, but you can like re-download it and stuff. But it's like any of these original ones that you want to touch. But yeah, I agree. Fire Emblem. I hate that Fire Emblem gets shit on as much as it does, just because.
Admittedly, I troll.
I love Fire Emblem, but it's also like I get that because of Smash Brothers, everybody's upset and everything, but. I get it. I get the frustration.
I only do it to poke fun at the friends of the show that love Fire Emblem. I have nothing against Fire Emblem. I've played some of them. I'm not as into them as other people, but I understand the passion for it. JRPGs are something that a lot of people really enjoy, and there's a few out there that I do enjoy. But Fire Emblem has not done enough to cultivate me. I do like that Marth is in this one, so that gets me excited.
But I'm gonna butt in. Here's the thing that really surprised me about you and Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem Three Houses is basically Harry Potter, but with a Civil War aspect, and I'm really surprised that never.
I played for like 8 hours, and I don't know. Maybe it was just because there was a lot of talking and there was a lot of backtracking and running around the castle that I just was like, I don't know how I feel about this. That's not to say it is a bad game, because the combat is good, the level up system is good. It is a very good game. It just was too slow for me for the amount of hours I put into it. I give a game up to 4 hours, and if it can't hook me by then, I'm just not interested. That's just me.
That's fair. I would say if the game in the first 4 hours can't get you at least interested, you might as well ditch it.
Right.
Which sucks. It's like Digimon Survive came out earlier this year. I know somebody in your Discord really likes it. But I got 4 hours in and I was like, I can't do. I actually got 2 hours in and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, I've watched people play it and I just know that I will not play a lot of Digimon, so I'll probably wait until it's like a $20 game and then maybe I'll check it out.
I wouldn't. It's just it's a visual novel and then featuring some kind of bad tactics. The visual novel part is like a 10 out of 10. It's really good, but it's just also a lot of reading and whatnot. So since Fire Emblem's playing, I will say just quickly to touch on it since we're talking about the direct. I think Fire Emblem Engage looks really cool. I think
I do too.
I do think it's really nice that Nintendo reached out to VTubers. I know this is now the joke and meme, but it is really cool that they reached out to a demographic that they're embracing more modern stuff and they let them design the characters. Which, granted, now it looks like a VTuber, but whatever.
That's fine. I think that's a big deal. That Nintendo's one of the few game companies that actually does do stuff like that. Like with their bigger IPs, I like the idea of asking VTubers, "Hey, how would you design this character?" Because they basically do that already. You might as well see if somebody can come up with a fun design that people would get behind.
I think if you look at the artwork at the end when it pauses and it's in 2D, I totally get, like, looking at that. I don't know if a VTuber would have ever crossed my mind, but the minute they're in 3D, I was like, oh, yeah, I see it. I really see it. But I like this one's really cool because they're going to have a lot of, I think one of the press releases put out basically like every big hero from past games is going to be like one of those rings. So when you equip it to your main character, they'll change their whole... Fire Emblem's a rock, paper, scissors type system with... I think it's like Swordsman, Lancer. Well, there's multiple, actually. And basically, you're going to be able to switch out. Whatever ring you have attached will change your class to that for your main character. That's like their power. So you'll get like a partner. So like Marth was the one that they used for this trailer because, Marth is like the big name of Fire Emblem.
Right. So like for me, that's the appeal for me is to see characters that I know from the Smash Brothers series because that's how I know these characters. So I would like to play a Fire Emblem game with Marth or with Roy, and those are a lot harder to get your hands on. So for me, a newer Fire Emblem game with characters that I somewhat know based on information from the games, like reading up on trophy data and information and just backstories, that appeals to me more than new characters because I don't know this series that well. I'm not as familiar, admittedly. And I know that there will probably be people who are like, oh, he's a Nintendo fan, but he doesn't play Fire Emblem. I'll be like, yeah, okay, well, not every Nintendo fan plays Donkey Kong. Not every Nintendo fan plays Kirby or Earthbound or whatever game, There's so many different franchises in Nintendo that not all of them are going to stick with you. So... for me to be saying, I think this looks fun and I'm excited for it because I know some of these characters, I think that's enough for me to want to check out the game.
And I think to suck the cock of Nintendo a little more. I like that. I like that Nintendo is diversified in their first party IPs.
I agree.
Where I feel like, granted, they're not all bangers, and I'm really tired of Kirby games. I get it. Get that it's easy to port these and they sell 1 billion copies each. I totally understand why you do it.
True.
But I appreciate that there's a whole JRPG. Now they have their mature side with Bayonetta. They have now Mario plus Rabbids is never coming anywhere else, and it's a XCOM style strategy game.
Right.
Like if you don't like Fire Emblem, you have this other tactics RPG that you can play.
Right.
So I appreciate that. I love PlayStation. I'm a big PlayStation guy as well.
Yeah.
But at least when a PlayStation first party game comes out, they're very similar. They haven't really branched out a crazy amount. I at least know with Nintendo, it's like
this has a different feel. Yeah.
Some things stick to the wall. They throw everything at the wall basically with some franchises now, and I really appreciate that. When they find what works for that franchise, they stick with it. So another rumor. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is the GameCube one, I believe. That is also rumored to eventually be ported. I'm just throwing that out there. I know that's like something random, but Turnip mentioned in the chat. I've also, I mean, granted, you could put any GameCube game and be like, any GameCube game with the Pokemon ones, because I think they're staying on GameCube. But there's been a lot of rumors and a lot of people said that you'll probably see a Fire Emblem, especially which I think might be more true than ever, because Fire Emblem Engaged shows like all those old previous years, and so now you have an easy opportunity to be like, hey, you saw them in this game and you got to know their character in this game, see their origin in this one. And so I wish I never sold my copy. I agree with that, because that was, yeah, the GameCube stuff is expensive. I remember I wish I'd bought it for $125, what it was at one point. I wish I bought it, because now it's like $300,
$300.
Yeah, it's at least $300 for a complete in box right now.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, man. Like, I would like for Nintendo to get more stuff out there for the fans that enjoy it. I do think it's possible, and I do think that they are working on a lot of stuff, but I would like to see more stuff get onto the Switch. The idea of a portable console having childhood favorites for people is a huge deal to me. I would love to see Luigi's Mansion also get put on this console. I don't know if that will happen, but that's another GameCube game that comes to my mind where I'm just like...
You already have the best one on there. I don't know why you need the...
I would just like to be able to play the original because of how much shorter it is, and I can beat that game in about 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
And just play it just for fun. That's just the appeal to me, is just to have more stuff on the system.
See, this is where it gets like, for me, it's like conflicting, because it's like, which ones do Nintendo go out of their way to remake or add something so they can sell it for $60, and then what games eventually hit a virtual console, because I think a GameCube virtual console is happening. Whether that's another 3 years or longer, who knows, but...
I think a game like Luigi's Mansion probably doesn't need to be remade, but a virtual console purchase would be justifiable for, say, $20. I think I would be more than willing to pay $20 to have a digital-only version of Luigi's Mansion. I think that would be more than fair.
I think, so here's the thing, just so we're clear, I don't think Nintendo, if they bring over any GameCube games and they don't remake them, I think they hit the Nintendo Switch Online. I do not think that Nintendo sells them. The only game I think Nintendo would ever do that for is Mother 3. I would be so surprised if a Game Boy Advance Switch line
I agree with that,
and
actually.
Mother 3 was not on its own just being sold. I cannot imagine Nintendo not being like, people have demanded this for far too long, we're going to make them pay.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. Mother 3 would be a game that would actually sell, rather than just put you have to kill one franchise, all of Zelda or all of Mario. I would kill all of Mario, personally. I'm sorry, I would. I just enjoy Legend of Zelda too much.
Like, I have a Zelda tattoo. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Here's the thing, though. Man,
and I'm literally wearing a Mario shirt as I say that.
Not to just be, like, different.
Let's add Mario parties in Mario Kart. I already factored that in.
All of Zelda. I might have to get rid of Zelda.
Really?
Is that it? But if that's like, I never knew that Zelda existed, or because I think Mario. Oh, man, I don't know. It's so tough for me because in my heart it's Zelda, but in my brain it's like, I have played so much Mario. I've probably played more Mario than I've ever played Zelda. And
that's probably true because
such a variety to Mario
aspect and variety.
I mean, even if you removed that, I played Super Mario. The first game I ever beat was Super Mario Bros. 3.
Yeah.
And so it's like hard for me to separate like all those memories. And like Mario has a more diverse lineup of games. I mean, you're playing an RPG that's in the Mario universe. I mean, there's kart racing, sports. I don't know. That's such a hard thing for me to pick between. I mean, I really think, gun to the head, I'd be Mario. But if I like really sat on it, it might be. Gun to the head, I would keep Mario. But I think if I really thought about it, it might be different. But
I don't know. For me,
at this point, I can't play any old games and no new ones come out. Yeah, I think definitively with that, I would pick. I've played all the Zelda games, and I don't need any more. If we're being honest, I love them, and I can't wait to see what comes out. And I can't wait to play more. But I genuinely could do that. I think Mario for me could be the.
If that was the case, then I would probably agree. Only because of the replayability of a lot of the Mario games. I will play.
That's the thing. That's the hard thing. Down through your door. I don't know if I could sacrifice it.
See,
even
for you all, that's your game. I don't know if I could sacrifice Majora's Mask because I used to play that game every single year for the longest time around Halloween. Oh man, I probably would keep the Mario games just for the sheer amount more of them than Zelda. And just because of the variety, I have Mario Kart, I have Mario Party, I have Mario Strikers, I have Mario Tennis, Mario Golf. I've got all of that as well. So it's like, do I get rid of some of my favorite story experiences for some of my favorite actual gaming experiences? And the answer to that is probably yes, because as much as I love a good story, I do love making memories with my friends probably more.
So, Cart, what your question is, this is the greatest game that was revealed during the Nintendo Direct. This is called Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life. It is a remake of two GameCube games called Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life, and Another Wonderful Life. They are porting it together, and they're also adding some new features, which they're adding. I think they're adding like a trans character or something. I saw like a non-binary character as well. They're doing a lot more progressive stuff in this
I think
one.
that's
not
great.
Not to get all political, but that's just what they're like. And yes, it's a remake of Harvest Moon. So just to clarify,
yeah, I actually did not catch that it was Harvest Moon until people pointed it out.
I would like
I was
to
like,
go
this
ahead.
Looks familiar.
I'm gonna go ahead and give you a little lesson on what's happening. So, the original creator of Harvest Moon, was ready to start making more games under a different banner. He wasn't liking the direction that Namco Bandai is taking the Harvest Moon games, and so he was ready to step away. And basically, Namco was like, "Oh well, we're keeping the title Harvest Moon." So what he's done is he owns all the original Harvest Moon games, except he doesn't own the name Harvest Moon. So he's going back. He made a new one. He made a new Story of Season games, but it didn't do as well. But then he started remaking the old Story of Seasons game, and they have blown up and been really popular.
Good for him.
So he's going back, and he's slowly remaking a lot of the really popular ones. And this is probably...
I would agree this is probably the most popular.
This is the second. I would say this is the second most popular. There was a Game Boy Advance one that already came out. It's genuinely still really good. Called Friends of Mineral Town. It came out like last year on the Switch and everything else.
Yes, okay.
So this is another one of that. And so basically now they're all just they're now just remaking a bunch of the Story of Season games under all these. So basically, if you're ever like, wow, this really looks like Harvest Moon, that's because it is Harvest Moon.
That's exactly what I was wondering when I first saw it. I was like, is this the Harvest Moon? Because I remember playing Harvest Moon on the N64 and on the GameCube. And I really enjoyed myself playing those games. And that was like really the only farming game I'd ever played until recently when I started Stardew Valley. So, and it's ironic that at a direct where they show off the Harvest Moon remakes, we got like 3 or 4 other farming simulator games, which I don't know why people are so upset about that. It's a 40-something minute direct and you got a lot of content there. If you didn't like it, okay, you know. Like,
I think it's just there's a lot. I get it.
I agree.
I think there's actually closer to like 7 farming games, and then on top of that, a lot of JRPGs. Which you got to remember, TGS is this week. It's almost over.
Yeah.
That was a big thing that Nintendo had to basically be like, we got to show all this stuff off before TGS, because going into TGS, this is all going to be there.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I don't think any of these Story of Seasons or Harvest Moon remakes or any of that are better than Stardew Valley. I think Stardew Valley, unfortunately, has perfected the formula. So if you go back and play any of these, I think Stardew is like the pinnacle of them. I think a lot of them are just a lot of nostalgia. That's like, yeah I can't wait to play it, but it's not. Stardew has unfortunately...
I think based on
high bar.
I think based on what I have played of Stardew Valley and what I can remember of Harvest Moon from playing it as a child, I would probably agree. It is a nostalgia series and it is a nostalgia release, and those usually do very well, and I'm excited. But I would like to see what they could do with a new one as well. I'd like to see basically a new Stardew Valley, if that makes sense. Like with
he's working. Moon.
I know he's working on something, but
yeah, the issue is Stardew still sells
incredibly well.
Year. So why I don't? If I was him, I would just keep updating it. At this point, I wouldn't worry about a Stardew Valley 2 or anything for a while because they just put out a 1.6 update or something, 1.5.
1.5.
It added like a bunch of stuff, and so it's like at this point, I wouldn't bother.
Yeah. But I mean more in the grand scheme of farming simulator games. I would like Harvest Moon to get a new one that takes that Stardew Valley formula and just goes with it. Yeah, Haunted Chocolatier. Yeah, I'm intrigued by that. Unfortunately, we don't have anything for that. But right now, we're looking at Final Fantasy VII. What is
Crisis
this?
Core.
Crisis Core.
Crisis Core.
I know this is one that you could talk about.
Reunion? Yes. Okay. So the reason I hadn't put this on here is, one, we got the date in this trailer, which is something we didn't have before. Mm-hmm. But also, it's such a weird fucking choice from Square, because Final Fantasy VII Remake is not on any other console other than PlayStation still, but this game is... So, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core is originally a PSP game that really amplified Final Fantasy VII and added a lot to Zack, who's the main character of the game. He's the black-haired guy you see in the trailer. Mm-hmm. His story, he was a fan favorite. He's in, like, an hour of the game, but everybody was obsessed with him. And so this is a remake of that changes, to my understanding, changes some things to line up with the remake of Final Fantasy VII, which is such a weird decision because, like, it's not available to play on Switch, it's not available on Xbox, but this game is coming to everything. Like, it's coming to PS4, but you can play it on your original Xbox and Series X. Like, I'm just like, what?
Do you think on some level Square is planning to put Final Fantasy VII on other consoles then? Do you think maybe that's what this is hinting towards?
So here's the thing. Final Fantasy VII Remake, at the E3 they revealed it. They said this is a timed exclusive. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that the timed exclusive means either when Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is Part 2, comes out, or when the trilogy is done. What does that mean when it comes to Switch? I don't know, because I don't want to get into.
I don't even know if that game would work
trilogy. I'll be honest, it's a whole
the
thing.
Switch. But
I think it'd be a cloud version, just because Square hates me, and it doesn't matter. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing, because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to be next gen only, so I just don't see it on Switch. That's like the hang up I get. So here's the... Okay, I'm so sorry, I'm derailing off Switch. Hold on. So let me explain the trilogy. So Tetsuya Nomura is the creator of Kingdom Hearts, and he was tasked with doing the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. Well, it's taken longer than he expected, so he's been jumping back and forth between Final Fantasy VII and Kingdom Hearts. He's currently he decided to hand over Part 2 to another director, and so he could wrap up Kingdom Hearts 4. Well, Kingdom Hearts 4 is supposedly almost done, and so he's jumping back over to do the third part and the finale of the trilogy, which we know Part 2 is called Rebirth, and they said that Part 3 actually will be out a lot sooner than the last. Because the last one came out in 2020, and we'll see Rebirth in 2020 next year. We're supposed to see it like next holiday season, but we'll see. Anyway, but I don't think that trilogy fully can come to Switch, but I think, I hate to say a cloud version, but a cloud version, or if a Switch Pro exists, I think you can see Part 1 on the Switch. But if a Pro version updates at least to an Xbox Series S, then maybe you could see the whole trilogy, but then that's just a whole other thing, and that's just me tangenting on, like, I don't know how the Switch can run Final Fantasy VII Remake or any of the ports, because it's all supposed to be a huge open world. Like, they keep talking about Rebirth on this whole engine that only runs off of basically like a next-gen PlayStation. It's this whole thing. So I don't know what the fuck Square is doing. It literally confuses me, and I don't understand why this game is coming to Switch. Not that I'm not excited, because it was a portable game when it started, and I definitely recommend everybody play Crisis Core, but I'm just so confused.
Maybe that's what the strategy is. PlayStation no longer has a portable console, so they were like, well, Nintendo does, so let's put it over there.
Because Xbox kind of does with the mobile, with the xCloud. I
guess that's kind of true. But yeah, Final Fantasy is getting more stuff. And I'm excited for that, for Final Fantasy fans. I've played a couple of the games. But I know that's, like, Square Enix's Final Fantasy is something that you absolutely adore. So
yeah, it would one of my favorite game franchises.
It would be a crime for me to discuss the Direct and only talk about stuff that I'm passionate about, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have a guest when I went more into detail, because I could be like, oh, this looks fun for people who like it, and then just move on to the stuff I enjoy. I could spend like 20 minutes talking about the new SpongeBob game instead of talking.
Which is crazy. That is, I know we've already seen footage, of course. Whatever, THQ did something earlier this year, but it's crazy to see more of it and to like genuinely, it looks good. I'm excited to see Cosmic Shake. Is that what it's called?
That sounds correct. Yes. We'll get there eventually. I have the trailer in the lineup, but I wonder if that game started development after the release of Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated because of the love that game got, and they were like, oh, people really like SpongeBob video games, because it gives me a feel as if that is the element they're going for. It's going to be a platforming game. And I love platformers, so sure, give me one. I don't care. And like almost every frame I could see a reference to an episode. Like the people who are designing the SpongeBob games actually understand the material. And that's always fun when you have people who actually are working on a game and they understand the licensed material. A good example is like the people who make like WWE games for 2K. Those people understand what they're doing. Discord message? I don't have Discord up right now. Hold on. I can bring that up. Give me just a second.
So I'll talk about what's on screen while you do that, because I don't really want to spend a lot of time on this one. Tales of Symphonia, just to throw this out there for anybody, is a remake, of course. It's a remaster, but it's the Tales game that put Tales on the map here in the West. It's genuinely a really good game that I really, really strongly recommend everybody check out. It's only going to be I think it's only going to be like $20 or $40, and I mean, like, you should play it. It's genuinely a really good RPG.
Oh, you heard one, yeah. So I've been hearing them slightly too. I don't know where that comes from or why, but there you go. Anyway, Tales of Symphonia. This is one that I've also never played. Also made by Bandai Namco. But because it's getting remastered, that gives me the opportunity to play it. Wait, what? No, don't do that.
Oh, what are you doing? I can't believe you've done this.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not my favorite Tales game, but it is like it's the one that definitively everybody is like, if it wasn't for this game, Tales probably would have never continually be ported over here.
Right.
Just because it was like the one that blew up, and then it was so big, it's like one of the few Tales games ever get a sequel, and the sequel was so bad that everybody just kind of pretends it didn't happen.
Well, there you go.
So, but this is a fun game. It's gonna be cheaper. I think it's like I said, I think it's $40 maybe.
Well, there you go. If it's cheaper, then that means it's going to be more accessible to people who've probably never played it before, because most people are probably not going to want to pay full price for a remastered or re-released game. Yeah. Huh?
I'll buy it. I'm a whore, Nintendo. I'm a whore. I'll buy your $60 ports.
I thought you were asking me a question. I was like, what?
I was, Mr. Nintendo. Take your face off. I know it's not jittery under there.
Mr. Nintendo.
Fuck Bowser.
Oh, yeah, no. Just imagine I just pull off my face and it's actually Reggie just saying, I've returned to discuss the Direct. Oh, man. I know that we joked earlier about what the biggest reveal would be, but if they revealed that Reggie was somehow still involved at Nintendo, I think the internet would have a meltdown. I only say that because I actually just finished his book, I want to say 2 days ago, and I loved that book.
Did you listen to you listened to it?
I listened to all of it. I listened to the interview as well at the end.
Okay, I was going to ask. I really liked his and Keely's interview.
Mm-hmm.
Reggie lived such a fascinating life.
Oh, I agree. It was so fascinating to learn about just his life before Nintendo. I had no idea that he worked at Pizza Hut and made Bigfoot Pizza and
I knew he
worked
had
with Panda Express and different companies.
Yeah, I knew he worked. He worked in like food, but I wasn't sure what. And so hearing that, I was like, "Wow, that's pretty interesting."
Well, one day I would like to talk more about just books that I've been reading. But I highly recommend that book if you're in any way a gamer, or if you're even into just business in general, because he has a lot of really good insights to just leadership and management, which I wish that book came out about 2 years ago when I started working as a manager at my old job, because I would have liked to hear his so what's. Because that, as much as I loved
Mary Birdo.
As much as I as much as I loved hearing about like his relationship with like Mr. Iwata or Mr. Miyamoto and just people like that, his takeaways from the stories he told was what really made the book more interesting to me, because I could think about moments in my life that were similar with other people and the way I responded, and it's like, oh, he has a really good insight that I've never thought of before. And I think that alone is enough for me to recommend the book. But if you're a Nintendo fan, it's a no-brainer for you to at least listen to it on Audible. I used a free token. I got to listen to the book, and I was blown away by just how good it was.
Yeah, I think just to also plug it, I think I'm not a business guy. I enjoyed listening to a lot of his takes. His life is very fascinating. Mm-hmm. Reggie is very much I don't think we'll see another figurehead from Nintendo like him. He's a personality. I think that era is kind of over to an extent. Mm-hmm. But I think just listening to him talk is a very fascinating and interesting introspective within Nintendo. And it's not all about that. Nintendo probably only talked about maybe half the book. But just to hear a little bit like the Game Boy SP, some of the failures I kind of wish he touched on a little more. Yeah. But I understand that's not what the book's about.
Right.
Because you can't just be
it's
like,
more
you
about
can't just
his
sit there.
life.
Right, because you're just sitting there bashing the company, and that's not what I'm asking. But I also it would be more fascinating to hear their obstacles overcoming the Wii U, and he talks about the Game Boy Micro being a huge failure as well. And so, just some interesting things that I genuinely like the book. I can't recommend it enough. I think it's like 6 or 7 hours.
So. It took me about, with the interview at the end, it was about 7.5. So it's about 6.5 hours or so. But yeah, it's not a very long read. You can probably read it faster than you can listen to it, but I love
Reggie does narrate it.
He does narrate it, and that to me is the preferred way to enjoy that book. Just because you can hear the passion behind his voice talking about some things. Like, I love his conversation with the heads of Nintendo talking about Wii Sports. I thought that was probably the most interesting of his stories about working at Nintendo, except for maybe the story about the pipe shop. I thought that one was also really good. But I highly recommend that book. I know we're talking about the Nintendo Direct, but some of my favorite Nintendo Directs of all time did involve Reggie, and I felt like it would be appropriate to discuss that a little bit, because I know that I mentioned it in Discord that I started that book, and I did finish it. Now to get to Turnip's question, changing the subject.
Oh, we're doing this? Okay.
Bang, marry, kill. Peach, Daisy, and Rosalina. Okay, let's start with the one that...
Kill Daisy. Get rid of her. I'm sorry. She's out of here.
Kill Daisy? Really?
Yeah. How are you not? You're either marrying Rosalina or Peach for the money or the power of the galaxy. Which is your choice?
Well, no, I'm not... Who says
what does Daisy do?
Daisy also has a kingdom.
Oh, what? Nobody fucking cares about that kingdom.
So, she has a kingdom.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. You're telling me that you wouldn't bang Daisy? You don't have to marry her.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Look at Turnip's argument. Daisy.
Tell me other options. Tell me other options.
I'll be honest.
Rosalina could step on me.
I don't disagree with that. Literally in the intro of my stream, we have the Milky Way joke of Rosalina backing that ass up. And it's the Milky Way that spreads open like the scene in Deliverance where they pour water on the dancer. But I'm
marrying Rosalina. You've just I'm still killing Daisy.
I will marry Rosalina. I don't disagree with that. But I think I would kill Peach. Let me tell you why. Peach and Daisy are basically the same exact character. I just prefer brunettes.
I guess we're getting down to brass tacks of this. It really doesn't matter on which one you're banging, because they're basically the same. I think Peach, just because it's been she's been there longer.
The icon.
So probably like young child me was like, I want that, and so.
I don't know, man. I think Daisy has a more unique personality than Peach as well, so that just kind of adds to it. I think her ditzy attitude just really just does something more for me than Peach's like very
Where does the toad come from in Smash Brothers? I have to know.
Underneath the dress.
Yeah. Where?
Just under the dress.
Yeah, where under the dress?
Also, Daisy isn't going to run off and get kidnapped like 87 times. I'm tired of having to rescue Peach. Like...
I'm not marrying Peach. I'm not talking about any of that. I don't care about that.
Yeah, but it's like... It can't be that good for Mario to run across galaxies to go after Peach when Rosalina exists. When Daisy exists. When Pauline exists. I would probably pick Pauline over any of them, to be completely honest. But
I couldn't. Not over Rosalina. Nintendo knew what they were doing there. Nintendo knew what they were doing.
I do think Rosalina is a very pretty Nintendo princess. Now, above all of them, I know that we're not discussing Zelda characters, but Zelda is the one true love from...
Only Zelda from Smash Brothers, where they added her ass on as a hitbox.
Oh my god. Okay, so that's really funny, because even before that, I always thought that A Link to the Past design for Zelda in Smash Ultimate was incredibly cute. I'm just like, that is the best design of Zelda I have seen from Nintendo ever. In my opinion, her default Smash Ultimate character, I think, is just her best look. I like the shoulder pads and everything. It's a mix of different designs. I think it's really unique. Anyway, part 2 of his question. Bang, Marry, Kill, Dixie Kong, Toadette, or Birdo. Okay. I'm killing Dixie Kong.
Oh yeah, this isn't even like... I don't even think this is a hard question. Oh, Toadette... What's Toadette's voice sound like?
A more feminine Toad? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean... I guess, like I said, Birdo is both is a male, so I'm taking that. I mean, I guess me and Toadette will have a one-night stand, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking,
I'm not even gonna try to do the Toadette voice, but hear it once and it's over, and you know you get Birdo for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and Birdo's got just a really big mouth. I could find some creative ways to enjoy that.
You could launch eggs at your enemies.
Yeah. Or I can just, just crawl in there and just enjoy that, I guess. God, I'm going to have to edit this part out of the podcast. Anyway, after Tales of Symphonia, what did we have?
I don't remember. We didn't even really touch a lot of things. We've jumped around. So this one is actually, I didn't realize this until after. This is a Fatal Frame that came out in the Nintendo Wii.
Yeah.
Fans demanded.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited only because I like when Nintendo gets horror games for their systems, because it adds a little bit more variety to the console. I remember for GameCube when Resident Evil really popped off with Resident Evil 4, Capcom was like, yeah, we'll put it on GameCube, and it was exclusive for a while, so that was that was a really big deal.
I think the definitive version of the original Resident Evil 4, a lot of people see it as the GameCube one and as the Wii one.
Yeah.
Those are the two versions that when people talk about Resident Evil 4, they talk about those two. Also, if you notice, I'm decreasing, so if you can see more of me or the room, it's because this chair's broken. And I'm just slowly moving down. I can tell myself now on the camera.
Please just don't hurt yourself. That's all I ask.
I actually can feel the chair giving way, so if eventually I tumble over, this is just it.
Well, it'll make for a very fun clip at some point. But yeah,
something interesting about Fatal Frame is, I believe, chat can correct me, and I know none of you are going to check, so I don't care. I believe Fatal Frame was actually exclusive on the Wii, 3DS, and Wii U. So this is since the launch of the PS4 and everything, with the re-release of Maiden of Blackwater, I think is the Fatal Frame title. That's the first time it made its way to other consoles, and that just came out earlier or last year. And so it's interesting to see them try to revive this. I wish they were redoing the original two Fatal Frame, because those are the much better games. Those are the ones I think a lot more people would eat up over these remasters that are games that I don't know how good the quality is, but
yeah.
the other ones have such a.
I'm
I think they
intrigued with how the gyroscope might come into play with this game.
Well, the big thing on Made in Blackwater was it was exclusive to the Wii U, and you used the gamepad to look around like a camera in a full 360 view. So that's something that I don't know. I haven't played them. I've been meaning to, but they're still like $40, and I'm like, I don't know if this game's worth $40. Now, if it was Fatal Frame 1 or 2, I would spend the 40. Zero question, I would have done it. But this one and the and Made in Blackwater are things that I haven't been as committed to. But I'm very curious. This is like one of the few back when Operation Rainfall was going on. This was like one of the big games they started demanding after they were able to bully Nintendo into releasing Xenoblade Last Story and Pandora's Tower. So
yeah,
I hope it's good. I definitely want to check it out because I was like, I remember how deeply I wanted these games back in 2010, 2011. So we'll see. I hope it reviews well enough for me to justify a purchase.
Yeah, for sure. But this was one that I wasn't expecting. I didn't even know they were working on anything SpongeBob like game.
Oh, really? Was this the first time you saw it then?
This is the first time I've seen anything on this. And I'm excited. I have no idea what to expect, but it looks almost like a spiritual successor to Battle for Bikini Bottom.
So they did announce this a while back. There's some other trailers out for it. If you're curious afterwards to go watch them, this is a spiritual successor. I mean, actually, it's probably just a straight up sequel to Battle Bikini Bottoms. I don't think it's the original team, but it's the team that worked on Rehydrated. So I actually think the other trailers are a lot better. I am excited for this game, but I will hold off for reviews. But if it reviews well, I think this could be, amazing platformer.
Looking at a lot of the movement and stuff, I just saw like a pair of the floating underwear like you would collect for an extra hit in like Battle for Bikini Bottom. So
he even uses like the spatula like he does in Battle for Bikini Bottom.
So that to me is actually really cool because I loved Battle for Bikini Bottom. And I just love the SpongeBob IP. It's one of my favorite cartoons ever. And I've loved most of the games they've ever made. So to get a new one, like an actual new one, is just really exciting for me. Because I can see just a lot of different references. Like we've got SpongeGar and Pat Tar here. But like there's a shot later in the trailer where like SpongeBob has his nose moved out like Squidward with the rubber band around his head from Opposite Day. And I'm like, the people making this game really do know the show that they're adapting. And that to me is super important when you make a licensed product. When you make a product that like does not show as much love to a series as you would hope for, it comes off as just a cheap, quick way to make money. And this doesn't feel like that looking at it. Like, I actually am looking forward to buying and playing this. I don't know what system I'll get it for, but I want to play it.
Right. I mean, if it was going to be cheaper, THQ would have already put it out.
Yeah.
That's like my one good thing about it is like Battle for Bikini Bottom I think came out like 2 years ago.
I think 2 years ago, yes.
And so, realistically, if you were going to cash in on that, you'd have done this year.
Right.
And so the fact that they're not just pushing it out does make me think that they're trying. That makes me think they're at least trying. Whether it ends up good or not, I at least think there's passion and there is effort being put in.
THQ is one of my favorite just developers out there. I've followed them for years, especially because I was like a big fan of the WWE games they did before 2K got the rights to them. Those were the ones that I played growing up. So I've always kind of kept up with that studio. So seeing them going back to making even more like Nickelodeon-esque games is just super cool to me.
They died. THQ Nordic was dead, and then out of nowhere they're just back, and I'm just so curious. I'm like so confused.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Because they've been putting out a lot of games like Destroy All Humans. Not in this direct, or not something we're talking about, but it's another series that they've recently just decided to go back and revive. Yeah. I'm just like, what is happening here?
But I believe this is our last video that I have, which is just the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. And it's playing the audio. Hold on.
Nintendo 64
I need to mute that just in case. So I think, like, literally right after I was looking at it and I said, ooh, Mario Party, the only thing that would be more exciting would be Mario Party 2. And then they were like, here's Mario Party 3. And I was like, if I could get Pokemon Stadium, I would lose my mind. And then they were like, here's Pokemon Stadium. And I was like, this is a good update for the Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of that it's missing is a lot of the rare games. And we know that that's something that could potentially happen because GoldenEye was the one I was like, that will never happen.
Well, but Banjo-Kazooie's already on there.
Yeah, but I would like to see Perfect Dark, and I know it's a super long shot, and it's probably a 1% chance of happening, but I would like to see Conker and Diddy Kong Racing.
So yeah, somebody put out a list on the Nintendo subreddit on like all the big, and there aren't that many games really missing that a lot of people consider the big 64 games.
Right.
So we're like really towards the tail end because I believe they're almost all of them are now on there. And so I was trying to look. I have a few, but I think like I kind of map it out. And one of the pictures they show like 2022 and 2023. They show them out. I don't know if a game came out this month, so I'm just gonna assume something did. But that means that like we have the October, November, and December game, and then first 5 months, except for Japan. Japan's getting Harvest Moon 64, and I don't think we are. Which frustrates me. We might
release.
We might be getting it. But that's one of the things I thought. But we might be getting it. It's just like they showed enough. Farming stuff here that maybe they were like, we're not going to show this. But that confirms we at least know what up until May will be for Nintendo 64. Because Nintendo does one game a month, which is frustrating, but, you know, whatever. Nintendo does weird Nintendo choices.
I mean, I think as long as they are doing... This is how I would rework this online system. You have Super Nintendo, regular NES... not Dreamcast, Genesis. I've done that twice now, and Nintendo 64. If you did one game a month for each of those, just do a new game each week, then players always have a new game every single week, but they seem to all come out at the same time. And I don't know how I feel about that. That would be the one thing about the system I would change. And
like they randomly do three Genesis games. Like after the direct was over, they announced 3 more Genesis games that were coming out, like Earthworm Jim, and then 2 other ones that are coming to the system soon. So it's like, why weren't... I get that you don't want to show all this in the direct, I guess, but like, what a weird choice. I do think it's weird because like the Super Nintendo, like not even all the big games are out for it yet, which I get. Like Final Fantasy and Super Mario RPG are a little harder pulls. Because you got to work a deal with Square, but Nintendo, you have the money. Like, what? Where are these? Why can't I get these? And
it's probably a matter of, how can we make more money off of this if people already have the service? Like, there probably is some level of appeal to that, which is why the GoldenEye one shocked me as much as it did, because I was like, there's no way they're going to get GoldenEye. Out of all the rare games they could get, GoldenEye would be the hardest because... 1, it's a title by Rare, and 2, it's a licensed property. So that just blew my mind. That, to me, is the most shocking announcement for all the games from the online service that they've ever done.
What I think is more crazy about GoldenEye is that Nintendo is the only one that's getting online.
That, too. And I'm curious to see how online is going to work for all of these titles that they announced. Like... 1080 snowboarding will be online. Excitebike will be online. At least I assume they will be, because...
So like I said, I'm mostly positive. I could go grab my Switch and check, but I'm really not going to do that.
Because I did check. Wave Race is playable with 2 people online. So
that's what I thought. So I figured there's no way. I just can't imagine a world where Nintendo puts out Mario Party and not have online play.
Yeah. So I will say something I'm super excited for, and I've had this idea running around in my head for a while, is with Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 coming to Nintendo Switch Online, I have a plan to do, like, almost our own little Pokemon League for our community.
Oh my gosh.
Where we will use teams that are rental Pokemon from the games and battle each other. And whoever has the most wins recorded at the end of, like, however many people want in, I'll get a prize for them or something. I'll eventually talk more about that, but I've been waiting, because I was thinking about that. I was like, you could do Pokemon Showdown, but then people could do some crazy stuff with that, whereas Pokemon Stadium is more limited to what you can do. And I can set more strict guidelines for it. Like, I could ban Wobbuffet, for example. Like, because that would just break the game.
Nobody cares about that. Pokemon Stadium mini games are where it's
at. That's true. Pokemon Stadium mini games, but I think the idea of having something for all of us to be doing in our spare time and just seeing, and it's just a little community-based thing, because basically as we're wrapping this up, I want to talk a little bit more about what I'm trying to do to grow the community. I like the idea of reaching out to people that are in the Discord and being like, hey, would you like to just do one of these conversations with me like we're doing? And we can talk about really whatever you like. And I would like to try to find stuff that we all can do off stream together too. And having our own little Pokemon League where we battle each other in Stadium, I think could be a cool idea, because it's very simple to do and it's easy to record and keep up with. And we could even do just full-on streams or tournaments of Pokemon battles, and I think that would be fun. But overall, thoughts on the Nintendo Direct? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle.
It'd be a thumbs up for me.
Yeah.
Like, just because I got a lot of stuff I wanted. I mean, even at the end of the day, literally, the rest of the Direct could have been nothing. It could have been 35 minutes of a blank screen. But you showed me Pikmin 4, and you gave me a release date for Zelda. It's hard for me not to be like, yeah, I would literally sit through 35 minutes of nothing for just those two things. You could have opened with Pikmin Bloom. You could talk about Pikmin Bloom for 35 minutes. As mad as I would have been, I still would have gotten those two. And so it's like, it's just hard for me not to at least see, like, there are a lot of positives from the Direct, even if there's, and granted it's more tailored to me, but this is just,
I think that there's enough
like
here. I think there's enough here for everybody to have really enjoyed this Direct. I think it's by far the best Direct of the year.
We only have had like 3. It's a lie. I'm sorry. The last Direct, I got Persona 5 coming to Switch, so it doesn't matter what was shown here. I could give 2 shits about the rest of the stuff. Persona 5 and Persona 4 Golden, baby!
No. Pikmin 4 and Tears of the Kingdom. Greater than Persona. Your face. You're like, don't make me drive over there and kill you.
Yeah, I mean, we can go on a whole tangent about how I think. Well, it's a whole thing. It's a personal opinion, whatever.
Yeah.
They're just
but we've been going for about a little over an hour and 10 minutes or so.
We almost got the nothing coherent time.
Yeah.
And nobody threw up on this first episode.
Yeah, that's a story for another day. But did you have any final parting words before we go ahead and wrap things up, or?
I can't wait to come back on. I assume we'll be back on for what I assume will be a January Direct. At
some point, you will be back for sure. I will be reaching out to people in the Discord whenever. This schedule is not going to be set. It's not going to be every Saturday night or anything. It's going to kind of just be, I will reach out to somebody. We will try to put together a time that works for both of us. Yes, even you, Turnip. One day you will also get to be on here.
Only after Turnip watches more One Piece. And watch One Piece. I'm just here to promote that. That's really all I'm here for.
That's the last topic. We have to promote One Piece. Okay. Anyway, chat, this is wrapping up the conversations with Jittery portion of the stream. Would anybody like to play some games? Because I would be down for that if anybody wants to do anything.
I might hop back on later if you decide to play something, but I've got to go take care of some stuff now that we're done. And it also sounds like a dog is dying in my house.
All right.
So I gotta go figure out what's up with that. But I might hop back on depending on what you play.
Okay, that sounds good to me, man.
Thank you for having me on. I'll gladly be back anytime you want me.
Thank you for being here. It meant a lot. But yeah, I'll talk to you in a little bit. Maybe we'll see. So that was, everyone, the very first ever episode of the Conversations with Jittery. Like I said, I don't know how often we're going to be doing these. They might be a little infrequent. I might try to get some different guests. I'll be reaching out to other streamers as well and talking with them just about things. I have a few ideas for guests in mind, but the idea of it is just literally the guest show. Brandon and I probably could have talked about whatever, but I knew that he would offer more detail to the Nintendo Direct than what I could on my own. So I thought that he would be a great guest for that. But this is going to be a variety-centered live talk show kind of thing. The subtitle is literally the talk show with no